They laughed at me like I was a stray dog sniffing around their feast. At Sunday dinner, plates clattered and forks scraped as my sister beamed about her cruise. Then came the line that burned into my ribs like acid. Did you think you were coming too? My mom folded her napkin, all sweet and cruel. It's for real family only. Laughter rattled the walls. I forced a grin. I helped scrape the gravy off their plates, stacked their dirty dishes, wiped crumbs from their smirking faces. My name is Ethan. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Tell me, have you ever stood in the middle of people you'd die for, and realized they'd never lift a finger for you? Because that night I saw every mask slip. The people who raised me. The people I thought would go to war for me. They left me out of a family trip on purpose, as if I was an afterthought they could scrape off their shoes. I felt my heart turning to ice while they joked about deck parties, bottomless cocktails, and laughing in the sun. My sister proudly waved her phone, showing the bookings she'd made. They didn't notice me the way a king wouldn't notice the servant cleaning up his spilled wine. I drove home in silence, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, brain on fire. If they wanted to erase me, then fine. Let them. But I'd make them choke on the memory of it. 1 week later, they were at the airport in their matching shirts, dragging giant suitcases across the glossy tiles. Confident. Loud. Ignorant. No booking. No confirmation. No ship waiting to welcome them. The family group chat went nuclear. Screaming. Swearing. Panic. My phone started vibrating non-stop, their calls tripping over each other. My sister's voice broke on the first voicemail. Ethan, what the hell did you do? I listened to it on repeat, letting their fears sink into my bones like rain. My grin was quiet, sharp, unstoppable. Let's just say I made sure if I wasn't real family, then neither was their dream vacation. Twist of fate, right? Stay with me because the best revenge is always boarding late. I let their voicemails pile up like rotting garbage on my phone. One after another, desperate, accusing, pathetic. Mom's voice cracked. You've always been so selfish, Ethan. Just fix it. Fix it? After they practically spat on my name at Sunday dinner? I sat in my apartment with the window cracked open, listening to the hum of distant traffic, letting their panic lull me to sleep. They had no idea how deep I'd planned this. See, my sister didn't actually book the cruise. She bragged about it, showed off a reservation code she found online, but never finalized the payments. When she laughed at me that night, my mind clicked. I memorized that code. Then, quietly, I logged in, confirmed a partial booking in her name, and canceled it before they even got close to the port. I made sure there was a trace of her big family cruise showing up as expired. No refunds. No backup. No help. My name was gone from their family, so theirs was going to be gone from the guest list. The best part? They posted their whole excitement on Facebook. All their friends saw them brag. All their coworkers saw them posing with their travel outfits, their cheesy matching hats. And now they'd have to face those same people, tail between their legs, explaining how they never even got on the ship. I answered their first call with a calm voice. Mom was practically foaming at the mouth. Ethan, you've ruined everything. I laughed, deep and cold. Isn't this cruise for real family only? Silence. A ragged, broken silence that felt like a drug. Then she tried again. How could you do this to your own blood? I took a long breath, letting the words land heavy. You taught me, Mom. You taught me exactly how to treat family. I hung up. My chest felt light. Free. The boy who once begged for a seat at their table was dead. In his place stood a man who'd burn the table down if he wasn't welcome. Later that night, they were still stranded at the airport, surrounded by piles of luggage and crushed dreams, looking more homeless than vacationers. I scrolled through their frantic texts, and for the first time in years I felt peace. Stay with me because this is only the beginning. They spent the next 2 days trying to untangle the mess, huddled in the corner of the airport with their stupid matching shirts, like clowns without a circus. Every hotel was booked solid. Every flight home cost triple. They had nowhere to go. My sister tried to salvage her pride, posting on Facebook that there'd been technical issues with the cruise line. As if the entire family hadn't been cackling about excluding me just a week earlier. I watched the comments roll in. Oh no. What happened? Did you miss the boat? That's terrible. I swear I could taste their humiliation through the screen. They called me again. And again. My phone danced across the table with all their missed calls, rattling like a snake. I let it ring. I went to work Monday morning with a grin on my face so wide my boss asked if I'd won the lottery. Maybe I had. Because nothing was richer than seeing the people who claimed I wasn't family realize they needed me more than ever. Mom left me one final voicemail, voice ragged from crying. We know you're mad, Ethan. We're sorry. Please just help us. Help them. After what they'd done. When they asked me that night at dinner if I thought I was coming on their family cruise, it felt like a dagger through my ribs. They never cared. They never even saw me. I was their convenience, their dishwasher, their errand boy. So why help them now? Instead, I booked myself a cheap Airbnb near the port. I watched the ships leave, saw happy families waving from the decks, sipping cocktails and toasting the summer. And I raised my own glass to them, alone, free, no laughter to shame me. That night I sent them a single text. Enjoy the time together. Real family only, right? I heard nothing back. Their silence was sweeter than any apology. Stay with me, because the cracks in their perfect facade were only just starting to spread. I thought they'd crawl back to their comfortable lives and pretend nothing happened. That they'd bury the shame, same way they'd buried me for years. But life has a way of tearing down liars, doesn't it? My sister's job caught wind of her brag posts. The fake cruise, the sudden meltdown at the airport. She'd scheduled time off, told her boss she'd be on a luxury family getaway. But when she showed up 2 days later, rumpled, broken, no tan lines, no photos, they asked questions. And she couldn't lie fast enough. She called me voice like ground glass. They wrote me up, Ethan. I could lose my job. Are you happy now? I closed my eyes, breathing in every syllable. Am I happy? I said calmly. No. I'm free. She hung up on me. Mom tried next. Please, Ethan, we can make this right. You've made your point. But it wasn't a point I'd made, it was a lesson. You can't build a kingdom on someone else's humiliation and expect it to stand. I saw a video someone took at the airport going viral on TikTok. They're matching shirts, they're screaming, my sister crying at the airline desk. Millions of strangers laughing at them. The comments were brutal. That's what you get. Imagine treating your own brother like trash. Yeah, imagine. I screenshotted every comment, every joke, every nasty meme. I saved them like trophies. Because for once, I wasn't the family embarrassment. They were. I went out that night, bought myself a steak dinner, sat in a restaurant where nobody knew my name. Nobody mocked me. Nobody looked through me like a ghost. Every bite tasted like freedom. I checked my phone one last time before bed. Mom again, 3 new voicemails, each more desperate than the last. Ethan, we need you, please. I turned the phone off. Sometimes silence is the only language they'll understand. Stay with me because the next storm I'd planned was going to finish what I started. I woke up the next morning lighter than I'd felt in years. No buzzing phone. No family drama clinging to my skin like oil. Just quiet. I went for a run along the pier, watching other families line up to board their cruises. The smell of salt, the screech of gulls, the sunlight on the water, it was all so clean, so untainted by their poison. When I got back, I checked my messages. 50 new texts, mostly from Mom, a couple from my sister, one from my dad. That one hit hardest because he never called. Son, don't do this to your mother. I laughed out loud. As if he hadn't stood by and let them tear me apart at dinner. As if he hadn't laughed along when they called me not real family. I blocked his number. They deserved to feel every ounce of what they'd put me through. The second-class treatment. The jokes behind my back. The way they used me and tossed me aside. But this was just the opening act. I went online that afternoon and found the cruise line's public complaint portal. I wrote a detailed letter from an angry customer. My sister's name, describing how their whole trip was ruined, how they'd been publicly humiliated, how they'd tell everybody never to sail with them again. I made sure to attach her real email and phone number. What? Because I wanted the cruise company to call her. Again and again. To follow up. To investigate. To confirm. If she thought one ruined vacation was the end of my vengeance, she didn't know me at all. Mom texted again that night. Why are you so cruel? We're family. Family. That word was a knife. I typed back slowly, careful to carve every word like a blade. I learned cruelty from the best, Mom. No reply. They'd shown me I wasn't worth a seat at their table. So I flipped the table. And next, I'd light a match to every lie they ever told about me. Stay with me because the fire hadn't even started yet. It took about 3 days for the fallout to really hit. The cruise company started calling my sister nonstop, demanding answers about her formal complaint. They threatened legal action if her claims were false. She tried to backpedal, but they wouldn't let it drop. They wanted proof. Receipts. Screenshots. And of course, there was none because she never paid for the cruise in the first place. She called me, voice ragged with rage. Ethan, did you do this? Are you trying to ruin my life? I let a cold grin spread across my face. "You're doing fine ruining it yourself," I said and hung up. Then I posted the whole story anonymously on Reddit. Every rotten word they'd said to me at dinner. Every time they'd used me like their personal servant. I wrote it so raw, so vivid that it went viral within hours. People read about the family cruise that wasn't, and tore into them. They had no clue it was me. But watching the comments roll in, I felt seen in a way I'd never felt before. Strangers stood up for me. Strangers who didn't even know my name. My sister texted me later that night, nearly incoherent. "Everyone at work is talking about this. They know it's me. They know." I lay back on my pillow, breathing slow. I'd lived my whole life trying to be small, trying not to embarrass them. Trying to stay quiet so they wouldn't push me away harder. But when you've been pushed so many times, eventually you push back. And the pushback feels holy. They tried to put together a story to save face, but their timeline was full of holes. Their pride was their own noose, and I'd given them the perfect rope. My mother left me one last voicemail. "Please, Ethan. You've proven your point. You're our son. We'll never do this again." My son. Their son. Funny how they remembered my place now that they were the ones choking on shame. I saved that voicemail. Played it back once, twice. Just to hear her break. I didn't respond. Stay with me, because when a house of cards falls, the first collapse is only the beginning. The next week was a slow-motion implosion. Their lies started collapsing in every direction. People from church, from work, even old family friends reached out to me. "Is it true what happened?" I told them the truth. No dramatic flourish. No pity for my sister or my parents. Just facts. They'd excluded me from the cruise, mocked me, then panicked when their own arrogance bit them back. For once, people believed me. My parents tried to contain the damage, but the gossip spread like wildfire. They were the family who couldn't even get their own house in order, who left their own son behind. Poetic justice, right? I was at a coffee shop when my dad showed up, shoulders sagging like a whipped dog. He sat across from me, eyes bloodshot. "Ethan," he sighed, "enough is enough. You've embarrassed your mother. You've destroyed your sister's life." I sipped my coffee, calm as a winter storm. "I destroyed nothing," I told him. "You did that yourselves." He tried to lean in, all fatherly gravitas. "Family should stick together." I laughed. A hollow, bitter laugh that felt like it had been waiting in my chest since childhood. "Where was family," I asked, "when you all laughed at me at that table?" He had no answer. He tried to talk more, voice trembling, but I got up and left. Let him drown in the silence. That night, my sister texted me again. "I'm getting threats, Ethan. People are calling me a bully. I can't sleep." My thumb hovered over the keyboard, and for a second I almost felt pity. But then I remembered her smug face, the way she'd sneered at me while waving her cruise tickets. I shut off my phone. This was what accountability looked like. I'd lived so long with their voices in my head, telling me I was worthless, disposable. Now they could live with mine, echoing back at them from the world they tried so hard to impress. Stay with me, because the day of their reckoning wasn't over yet. They started showing up at my apartment like beggars knocking on a locked door. First Mom, sobbing with a casserole dish in her hands, as if a warm meal could patch bullet holes. Then Dad, stiff and shamefaced, trying to look like the patriarch again. They couldn't handle being the public villains. The family who left their son behind, who laughed in his face, who choked on their own entitlement. Mom's voice was brittle. "Ethan, please, you can fix this. You're smart. You can make everyone forget." Forget? They wanted me to wipe away the stain, sweep it under the rug so they could go back to Sunday dinners full of polite poison. No. I stepped outside, letting the screen door slam behind me. "You did this," I told them. "You broke it. You own it." Her eyes were red, her mouth trembling. "We'll lose our friends. Your sister will lose her job. Ethan, we're family." That word again. Family. A word they used like a leash. I shook my head, voice steady. "No. Family doesn't kick you out of their dreams, then ask you to save theirs." Dad tried to bark something, but the fight had gone out of him. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen. I thought about the years I'd wasted trying to please them. The favors. The errands. The silent sacrifices. I thought about all the Sundays I'd been their unpaid butler while they joked about my place at the table. Not anymore. "Leave," I said, my voice a cold knife. "I'm done." Mom reached for me, but I stepped back. They stood there looking so helpless I almost laughed. Almost. They turned and left without another word. I went back inside and sat down on my battered old couch. For the first time in my life, the silence felt like peace instead of punishment. And I realized something: I didn't need them anymore. Stay with me, because the final strike was coming, and I was going to make sure they'd never forget my name again. I woke up the next morning to the sun streaming through my window, soft and golden, the kind of light that makes you believe in new beginnings. I poured myself a coffee, took a breath, and smiled. The final strike was waiting. They had built their entire lives on image. What the neighbors thought, what their church friends thought, what their Facebook followers thought. That image was their oxygen. So I decided to take away every last gasp. I uploaded one final post, right from my real account this time. No hiding. No fear. I laid it all out. The night they humiliated me, the cruise they flaunted to exclude me, the way they weaponized the word family to make me feel less than human. I wrote the truth, unfiltered, raw, ugly. And I signed my name. Comments exploded. Messages poured in. Friends, extended family, strangers, they all read it, shared it, debated it. There was no running from it this time. An hour later, my sister called, her voice the hollow echo of every bad choice she'd ever made. "Ethan, please take it down. Please." I closed my eyes, steady. No. Dad showed up in person, fists clenched, jaw twitching like he wanted to be the man in charge again. "You've ruined us." I stood taller than I ever had. "No," I told him, calm as a blade. "I freed myself. Because that's what this was about, wasn't it? Freedom. The freedom to never again bow my head at their dinner table. The freedom to know my worth wasn't tied to being their afterthought." I looked at Dad, really looked at him, and saw just a man. No longer a tyrant, no longer a god, just a man who'd run out of power over me. They left broken. And I? I walked down to the pier, stood by the water, let the wind cut across my skin, salt-stung and real. I'd thought revenge would taste sweet. It didn't. It tasted like clarity, like closing a door, like stepping out into the sun. I was finally free. No more family jokes at my expense. No more laughing behind my back. Just me. And that was enough.